Chapter 6. Brace Yourself. What's the engineering design process? Matthias asked. It's the steps that engineers use to help them design technologies, things that help solve problems, I said. Mama and I used it to help make my brace easier to put on and take off. Well, we certainly have a problem here, Lisa said. We need to design something to stop Matthias's knee from moving side to side, but still let him walk down the rest of the trail. I looked at Dr. Worden to see what he thought. I was surprised to see that he was nodding. So do you think this was a good idea? I asked. What I think, he said, is that we certainly need to design something to stabilize Matthias's knee. Doctors know a lot about the body and treatments for injuries, but I've never designed a brace before. Designing things for the body is the job of biomedical engineers. You have special knowledge about biomedical engineering from your own brace design. Why not use all that we know to make the best design we can? How does that sound, Matthias? Great, Matthias said, and the sooner we design it, the better. Well, let's get started, I said. First, we need to ask good questions about the problem, like what materials we have. That's a great way to begin, Dr. Worden said. We have our first aid kit with cloth bandages and medical tape. I have some basic tools in my bag, like the hammer we use to pound the tent spikes in. I have some ponytail holders and some hair clips in my bag that we could use to hold things together, Lisa said. And I bet we could find some branches if we need to use longer straight supports, Oliver said. Good thinking, Dr. Worden said. We'll need materials with different properties for different parts of the brace. Then we need to imagine some possible designs, I said. There are lots of different kinds of braces we could make. Then we need to choose one to plan out. Once we create it, we'll have to test it out before we can give it to Matthias. We can try it on someone else's knee, Hannah said. After we spread out all the materials we had available, a few of us drew some simple designs we could imagine making from our limited supplies. Then we picked the one we thought would work best and planned that design. Dr. Worden helped us create the brace using some of the tools he had in his bag. In about half an hour, we had a brace we were ready to test. Matthias looked on in anticipation as we tried the brace on Oliver. Oliver said. It's pretty good, but it's rubbing against the back of my leg. You're right, Dr. Worden said, examining the back of the brace. If we move the strap we made, I think we could do it. We had to move the strap and make a few more improvements before we felt ready to let Matthias put the brace on. Are you nervous? I asked. Not after all that testing you did, he said. If this thing can't get me out of the Black Forest, nothing can. With that, Dr. Worden helped Matthias off the ground so he was standing. When you take your first step, make sure you're moving slowly and putting most of your weight on your healthy knee, Dr. Worden instructed. You can lean on me too, I said, moving to stand next to Matthias. With one hand on my shoulder, Matthias took a step, and then another, and then one more. So? I asked. So? Matthias paused. So I think we should finish up this race. Chapter 7. Out of the Woods. Matthias was doing really well traveling down the trail. We all took turns supporting him and carrying his pack. When it was my turn, we walked in silence for a while. Remember that time we built a fort in the tree outside your window? I finally asked. Matthias smiled. Yeah, my mom was so mad. She kept saying we were going to fall out of the tree. I laughed. Right. I said, I remember that. Of course we didn't, though. Yeah, that fort was really sturdy, Matthias said. It's still in the tree, you know. Really? I asked. Well, that's because you built it. You're really good at that kind of stuff. And at sports and all that. Not all sports, Matthias said. You should see me on a skateboard. You skateboard? I asked. No, that's the problem, Matthias said. I can't seem to get the hang of it. In fact, I'm really, really bad at it. No way, I said. Skateboarding's easy. Not for me, Matthias said. I can't go a meter without falling. They make pads for that, you know, I said. Ha, really? Matthias asked. Yeah, I had to use all kinds of stuff like that when I was first learning. Pads everywhere, wrist guards, everything. You should have asked me. What does Eric think about Matthias's comment about his skateboarding abilities? Why do you think he was surprised? I just didn't want to look silly, Matthias said. You're just so good at all that stuff. Are you kidding? I stopped dead in my tracks. You're the one who's good at sports in school and hiking. Matthias raised his eyebrows and looked down at his leg. Well, usually you're good at hiking, I said, laughing. You'll be good as new before you know it. Hey, Matthias said, pointing down the trail. Isn't that the other team? I could see the team and some cars, including Mama's, through the trees. Yeah, I said. Looks like we didn't win the race. Matthias shrugged his shoulder. We can't win them all. I'm sure we'll beat them next time. How did they feel about not winning the race, do you think? Agreed, I said. Hey, before we get to the cars, you better get ready. If you think hiking out of the woods on your knee was bad, wait till you see how my mama will freak out when she sees what happened. You'll want to go back into the forest. We both laughed. She'll be able to fix your brace, though, I added. Do you think once my knee is better, you can show me a few things about skateboarding? Matthias asked. Yeah, I said, on one condition. What's that? Matthias asked. Lots of protective gear, I said. So now in these slides, you're going to see the engineering design process. And as you can see here, I'm going to ask you guys about what in the story was in that part. So this one I gave to you. The first step of the engineering design process is that you have to ask. Very much like the scientific method, you got to ask a question or figure out what your problem is. So in this story, Eric drew pictures of the knee and the campers reviewed the materials that were available. So the second step you can see there, it's kind of a circular pattern. The next step is imagine. So try to think back in the story. What did they have to do next? Imagine step in the story, the campers then drew pictures of possible knee brace designs. Everybody drew their own design, and then the next step is plan. So think about what happened next in the story. After they all did their own drawings, then what? In the planning stage, Eric drew a picture of the knee brace design that they actually decided on using. Then you get into the next phase, which is create. I'm pretty sure you can probably figure this one out. That's right. The campers then built a knee brace and they tested it on Oliver. So part of the creation phase is also testing it as well. Once you test it, you find out what the problems are, and then you go to the next phase. Improve. The improving phase is just what it says. They changed the brace so that it wouldn't rub against the back of his leg. When Oliver tried it on, remember, he said that it hurt the back of his leg, and Dr. Worden said, yes, that looked like it was rubbing. So then they changed it again, they improved it, and then the process starts over again if it needs to. In the story, everything was fixed after that. So this is the last slide of our little activity here, our story. On here, I would like you to go ahead and color your knee, your x-ray of your knee here, the same way that I have here. You'll notice that the different parts are different colors, and they have different numbers to go with it. So here on the key, any number 1, there's 2 of them there, are your muscles, and we did those in red. Your top muscle, the top one, is part of your quad, and the bottom one actually keeps going all the way to your ankle. It just kind of cuts it off there so you can see the bone underneath. But that's actually your shin muscle. The twos, all four of them there, are your bones. The patella is the one right in the middle. You'll remember that from our bones unit. The top bone is your femur, your thigh bone. And then the two bones are on the bottom are your tibia on the right and your fibula on the left. And those are the part of your lower leg bones. Number 3, the little blue parts there, are both tendons. If you remember, tendons are what holds the muscle to the bone. Those are not actually part of the story here, but they're part of the leg in your in real life. And then you've got number 4, the ligaments. Now in your knee, there's actually 4 ligaments. 2 of them are actually in this picture, and then the other 2 are hiding behind the patella, and they're crisscrossed. And those are what you've heard about in sports and stuff. When someone tears their ACL, that's the one that's inside, and it's hiding behind the patella. The 2 on the outside are the 2 that we're going to be discussing and doing with our knee brace. That's the one that Matthias hurt or pulled on one side of his knee. Well, that's it now, guys. So have fun coloring and getting your worksheets done, and have a nice day.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.